Hello everyone and welcome to Final Show. I'm John, the executive producer here, and I've just got a few pre-show notes for you. First of all, I want to let everybody know that our addresses have changed. Our Twitch channel has changed from Senstaku to twitch.tv/FinalShowFilms, and our YouTube channel has also changed to youtube.com/FinalShowFilms. Next, we want to thank our $20 tier supporters on Patreon, which is patreon.com/FFilms, by the way, if you want to go throw a couple bucks our way. That's going to be Cat Waterflame, Antitonic, Samantha Bates, and Maureen Monty. Thank you guys for that. Also, our website is in the process of getting updated, so go take a look at finalshowfilms.com. We've got Mara and Jeremy are working on updating all of our stuff there, making it look nice and like a modern website, and frankly, they know what they're doing far better than I or Austin ever did. So if you want to check out the things that are changing over there, you go do that. Follow us on Twitter at Final Show Films for updates for all future things, including things that are going on with our website and going on with the Patreon page, and things that are going on live as we stream them, as well as our podcasts and everything else. So thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a good day. And we're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hunter the Vigil Terminus Tendency. I am William, and I am your storyteller for this New World of Darkness Hunter game. And joining me today, we have John.
John, I'm playing Sean Mulcahy, the Malleus Maleficarum.
And Aaron.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I am playing Drew, the Lucifuge.
And Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I am playing Nina Sky, Union.
And Jack.
Hey everybody, I'm Jack. I'm playing Eamon Mulcahy, the other Irish Malleus Maleficarum, and I can open a condom wrapper with only one hand.
Bringing it back.
I don't even need one hand, brother.
We do flag our stream as mature, so it's okay that you said that.
And Holly.
Sorry. I'm Holly. I am playing Astrid Ashwin. I can't think after that.
It'll be really good, brother.
Knights of St. Adrian, yes.
It'll be really good, brother, when you can open it with just praise of the Lord.
And Craig.
Howdy. I'm Craig. I'm playing Paul Phillips. Aegis Kaidoru, currently Fancy Lad Hobnobber. Meeting some...
That was a bad time to use the phrase knob.
Hobnobber.
You act like I didn't do it on purpose, William.
Note to self, pencil in more Veneficus references.
How dare you?
I call upon the power of the machine spirits. But anyway, so...
We power these machines with liquid hot magma.
Magma. So, when we left off last week, the group had made a few different plans for potential leads to follow up on, but one of the more relevant ones that we will be continuing with is Nina decided that it might be a smart idea to get into contact with some of the local Ashwood Abbey, because if anyone has a bit of knowledge on the less psychologically stable aspects of the hunting business, it would be the Abbey.
Legit.
Which is a fair point. And while Sean is looking into the more mundane hitman aspects of the area to see if that might bring up any potential leads, a group went to Sentis to see if they could pick out a member of the Ashwood Abbey from the day crowd, and arrived and were introduced to Lady Vesica of the Abbey and Latreus of the Faithful of Shulpay. And before we pick up right there,
Eat the meat.
We'll go ahead and forward ahead to a dark room at an undisclosed location where an individual continues to give a briefing. Yes, well, I don't know quite what to say to explain the conversation that our erstwhile cell is about to have with the with our more eccentric members of the Vigil. I'll be quite frank. Even today, these folks scare the crap out of me. But the transcripts are available for all of you. I'll be giving a quick reading of the conversation as it broke down. And I think after that, we'll probably go for a recess because I'm going to need a drink. But how about some breakfast and a show then, lads? And with that, we continue as the group of you have just been introduced. I believe it's Nina, Astrid, and Paul?
I believe so.
Yep.
Yeah. So the three of you have just met Lady Vesica of the Abbey and Latreus. Lady Vesica just introduced the two of them, and
if I recall correctly, Nina was already sort of buzzing on the vibe of the place.
That's a phrase that has a lot of connotation. So why don't we clarify what you mean?
I think the last thing you said, because I went back and re-listened to the end of the episode just to remember the other day. But I think the last thing you said was that Nina leans forward and puts her head on Paul's shoulder, and after he started talking in a posh accent, and said, "I want you to buy me a drink."
Sounds like a Nina thing. I'm on board. I'm a little concerned that that these mysterious people have a transcript of this conversation, though. I just want to be on the record as that.
I mean, you are already.
You were literally on the record.
Power of internet.
But I interrupted you, William. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they've just introduced themselves to you and seem to have recognized you as the recently formed cell of hunters from various origins. So, how would you like to proceed with this conversation?
I would, before we jump in more, I would like to see what Paul knows in character about the faithful of Shalpe.
Go ahead and roll me intelligence and occult. You're going to need at least 3 successes to know anything.
Sure. I just want to know if he's going in blind.
Yeah. 2. You're blind.
You're blind. All right. He's like, sausage. So, I think we had introduced ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
correction. You started to introduce yourselves. She recognized you.
Yes. Okay. That's right. And Paul says, then I see how reputation precedes us.
Oh, please, darling. You don't need to do the accent.
To be fair, I mean, it's another London accent.
A different accent, but she seems to recognize that it's not your normal one.
Okay, fair enough. Paul says, all right, fair enough. Just thought I might make myself seem a bit more at home, but it's all right. Mind if we scoot in then?
Absolutely. Latreus, do you still have that trick of yours? And the faintly blue-haired gentleman kind of looks. Oh yes, I think I've still got that around for a little bit. And he closes his eyes, and in the background, you begin to hear a faint humming. And all of the background noise of the bar dies away, as there's just this faint buzzing in the back of your mind. Very well. Our conversation shouldn't be overheard by anyone now.
That's rather handy. Very nice. Paul will nod to... is it Atreus?
Latreus.
Latreus, okay.
It's a sort of Greek-sounding name as far as you can tell.
Okay.
Nina's going to, really quick, having her hand in her pocket, really quick, text herself a message so that it beeps.
You hear the beep, yeah.
Pulls it out, looks at it, leans over to Paul and show like it's a text from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reads, "Dear God, do not eat anything here."
Does she show that to Astrid?
I mean, yeah, to like both.
Okay.
Like,
because she'd be all over the food.
Because if they know plenty about us, she's assuming that they know that there are more than just us.
Paul winces and says, "I still think it was a bad idea to leave the dog alone without any sort of walking plans in place, but all right."
He'll be fine.
But you're acting off of the Ashwood part. But if you want, you can go ahead. You can also go ahead and roll me intelligence and occult to see if you know anything about the faithful.
I mean, to be fair, that was my roll for the faithful. I think I rolled.
No, I'm talking the Nina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nina and also Astrid. If she
Nina
wants to.
just happened. Yeah, is assuming that if it's food and it's Ashwood, it's probably not something we should eat.
What do I roll? Intelligence.
Intelligence and occult.
Okay.
If you get at least 3 successes, you might know something about the faithful.
Nope.
Nope. Yep. So, as far as you know, the faithful is something related to Ashwood Abbey. As far as it matters to you right now.
Are there enough seats at the table for us to join them? They're at a booth, right?
Yeah, they're at a booth. There's enough room.
Okay. Paul will stand and let Nina and Astrid sit. And then if they do, we'll sit after they do.
Yep.
So, what brings you looking for us, loves?
Well, we actually were wondering if you or any of your associates had actually tried to get in touch with us. Leave us a message, as it were.
Ooh. Oh, you mean the little present a slasher left for you that day?
Yes, I see you've heard of it. That would be the one.
We have eyes and ears all over the place.
Very good to know. Paul will sort of look at the other two and then look back at her.
Have body calligraphers all over the place?
No. Well, we do, but not ones that were supposed to leave you a message, shall we say. I think you're fairly solidly dealing with a slasher.
Right. We figured that was probably the case. That said...
You've got an admirer.
That said, if anybody's going to be familiar, and I say this with no offense, but if anybody's going to be familiar with people who have a particular talent like this, and individuals who we've checked with a lot of the other groups, and we haven't had anybody pop up. Any guesses you might have as to who this particular slasher might be?
You know, the mass murderer scene gets so cluttered at times.
Who is rubbing their mic? I bet you did it stopped. So someone was rubbing their mic subconsciously.
Anyway.
I could hear it, but I couldn't tell who it was coming from, and no one's screen seemed to be lighting up, so.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask. The only person I know it wasn't is there.
And they're muted. The mass murderer scene does get so cluttered at times. But if I had to take a guess based on the handiwork in question, you happen to find anything unusual on the scene? Other than the body parts and the blood, obviously.
I don't know. It's been like a month. Did we see anything?
The one thing that caught your attention was the tracings of melted rubber that seemed.
Oh yeah. Paul will say, well, it seemed that whoever left it had shall we say a rather incendiary approach to the trade.
Oh. A Sonic Slasher working with the torch, you say?
Not sure that I did say that, but interesting. Please go on.
Well, there's been rumors and a bit of scouting by our intelligence network. Network Zero does love to have a party, and we do love to get to learn what they know. But from what we've been able to learn, there have been rumors of an individual with certain sonic amplification abilities, the ability to turn sound into a weapon. Has been running around causing a bit of a massacre. And separately, there was a man on fire in the similar scene. If the two of them are working together, that does sound like a fun time.
Yep, super fun.
I think we have different definitions of fun.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Denzel Washington, but that wasn't my favorite of his films. But in terms of their affiliation, have they been in past efforts specifically focused on supernatural, or is this sort of interest in other hunters something that you've seen before?
I haven't known them to be admirers of specific hunters before. They usually were off doing their own thing. I'm not certain what's drawn them to you, honestly. That's something I would like to know.
As would we as well. Does that anything that the sonic nature, does that flip any switches?
You had four successes on the occult for the torch.
Yeah. I'll roll again for sonic.
Yeah.
Nope. 1 on that one.
It's difficult to say.
Okay.
But you can only surmise by the name that someone is able to use sound as a weapon in some fashion.
Yeah, fair enough. Are either of them affiliated in the past before going rogue with any of the conspiracies or compacts?
And then for just quickly for your successes on the torch.
Sorry.
It's not. Pyrokinesis is not, aside from the ability of the Lucifuge, which you've seen with Drew, the ability to throw fire. Self-immolation is not a known ability among most hunters, especially the ability to survive said self-immolation.
Right.
In fact, you would more expect that out of a mage.
Okay.
In all honesty.
Okay.
But then you asked if they've been affiliated with anything. I don't. There are rumors that the torch is an escaped Chiron group experiment, which, dollars to donuts on whether or not that's actually the case, but it'd be an interesting idea. The Sonic Slasher, I'm fairly certain, has a bit of the supernatural about her in more than just the standard ways that a Chiron group experiment would, obviously. But I think there's something otherworldly about the few accounts that we have of her existence. That's the other bit of information I can offer you. We do know, according to our research, that the Sonic Slasher is a woman and that the torch is supposedly a gentleman, although no one's ever bothered to ask their pronouns.
They don't seem like they'd be terribly subtle. Any idea where they've been seen other than dropping off their little collection for us?
Unfortunately, they don't tend to leave too many witnesses when they get to work. But Network Zero does love their hidden cameras. And what we have been able to glean is that they tend to work in areas where the monsters feel confident enough to move in isolation without large groups so that they can single individuals out. And then if anyone does happen to stumble upon them, they take more steps to make sure no one notices. Or witnesses, anyway.
Very much obliged for the information. Quite a bit to chew on.
Atreus, do you have anything to add? And the gentleman who'd been quiet this entire time kind of takes a bite out of a hot dog for a second and just kind of chews, thinks for a second, swallows. The torch. has a bit of a reputation for temper, and I think he should be an easier target of the two to rile up and draw out if you're willing to take the risk. As for the Sonic Slasher, well, if my sources and connections are what they are telling me the truth, I think someone in your group already has tie. Well, whether they know it or not.
As what? I'm sorry.
A connection to the Sonic Slasher.
Oh. And which one of us might that be?
That would be telling.
Yes.
Right.
Please tell.
This would be asking. And Paul smiles.
Let's just say there's only one of you whose selection of organization is hereditary.
Hmm.
Okay.
It wouldn't be any fun if I just gave you all the answers, would it?
I'd be not fun, more sort of fulfilling and making our lives easier sort of thing. But
Where's the fun in that?
Again, friend, I think you and I are in this for different purposes.
We have
But
very
I take your
different
point.
Definitions of the term fun, but fair enough. So
Would you like a bite to eat before you go?
I'm good.
Paul says, you know, I ate not too long ago, but those do look good. Would you mind if I take one for the road?
Be my guest.
Cheers. And Paul will pull out a handkerchief and wrap up the hot dog and tuck it into a pocket.
So I trust that.
Yeah, Astrid's gonna grab one and eat it.
Yes! Yes! Interesting flavor. It
You just
definitely. You don't know what human tastes like, so. Neither do I, so I'm not going to describe it.
Tastes like chicken.
Tastes like pork.
Tastes like pork.
I said
it's the
cumin.
reason why it is popularly euphemized as long pork.
It doesn't quite. It's not quite pork. It's a little bit off from pork. You would almost say that it's been weirdly seasoned for pork.
Okay.
I think you probably guessed it. I don't say that.
Hey, what? Sorry.
I said I think Astrid just kind of might have eaten some werewolf, but all right. So listen, you understand that fun or not, slashers are a problem for everybody. Are we agreed on that at least?
Well, to a certain extent. I mean, when they're not getting in the way of our operations, they're at least doing something about the population of creatures in the way.
And they're attracting attention that we don't need. So I would consider it very gracious of you if you find anything out. Let us know.
I'll consider it. I might just do something about it myself, but we'll see.
Enough.
Somebody dragging furniture in someone's house?
You might be hearing my dog snoring very loudly.
That might be it. It just sounded like something was being dragged across the floor.
I'm also getting over being sick, so I'm horribly congested.
and
It might be my breathing.
And it was louder than Jeremy is currently, so it was hard to hear Jeremy.
As my girl is curled up on the floor over there, and she's snoring very loudly.
Well, I believe, unless my associates have anything else, that's all we need. Appreciate your candor.
Absolutely. I suppose it couldn't hurt in asking. Either of you have any information on the vampire calls himself the Colonel?
We've been trying to hunt him down for a while. Latreus, did your group find anything useful? Latreus finishes off the hot dog that he's been slowly eating. I'll enjoy that strength for a while. Well, I believe he's been moving around a lot. I've been hearing word that he's switched up his game from having a base of operations to moving in a mobile fortress. So if you could track that down, you might be able to locate him.
Interesting. Mobile fortress. Are we thinking sort of a recreational vehicle sort of thing?
Essentially. We don't have too many details, but it could be anything from a limousine that's secretly highly armored and heavily equipped to a Humvee that no one questions.
Well, that's very much appreciated.
Or a mobile home covered in tank treads. Who knows?
For someone as well informed as you all seem to be, I'm sure you're aware that his more permanent lodgings at the golf course are no longer a particularly hospitable place for him.
Yes, you did quite a good job of that one. How did you get the werewolves to work with you?
Oh, well, they were actually quite willing to do so. It seems he doesn't have what you might call many fans in the city.
No. Werewolves love to hunt vampires. Good to know they're willing to work with us to do it.
Indeed. And in my line, I often find that practicality tends to win out at the end of the day. And speaking of which, if we might share contact information, I'd be very much obliged if you all could keep us up to date on any sightings of the Colonel. We'll certainly do the same. And if perhaps if we locate him again, we could all team up and make it a truly grand affair, one for the city to remember.
I like the way that you think. Well, Vesica, you feel like sharing one of your lines? Oh, I think I could absolutely go for a little bit of fun, should things require a grander scale. And both of them jot down a number and hand it to you.
Okay. Paul will take it and then we'll slide both of them business cards that have his actual cell phone on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been good seeing you, Latreus says as he starts in on the next hot dog. I've got a meal to complete.
Of course. Thank you for your generosity, both with information and with snacks for later. He pats his pocket and stands up, and we'll reach out to shake their hands.
Latreus finishes a bite, brushes it off on his vest, and shakes hands. Vesica, with the wine glass in her left hand, sips it while shaking your hand.
Okay.
Head now.
Yeah. Let's retreat and talk.
You head out and head back to vehicle. Did you guys take the van or?
No, I think what
No.
we determined, we took two motorcycles and an animal accessible lift.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was it.
Once we get to the vehicles, I look. You realize I think you probably just ate someone.
Yeah, I think I did too.
There's a reason I said don't eat anything.
Yeah,
They're like, they use every part of their trophy.
I was curious.
I mean, fair enough.
Well, if you start to feel any different, obviously, if you require any medical assistance, we'll get you right to the hospital.
Holly, could you go ahead and roll me a morality roll? Just to
God.
Okay. What am I rolling for that?
Just a number of dice equal to your current morality score.
Oh, I see. Okay. How do I do just the dice?
Simple roll.
Simple roll, and then the modifier is the number of dice you want to.
Okay.
Okay, good.
3 successes.
You don't suffer a mental break from cannibalism.
That's good.
So
whether or not you have any physiological effects will yet to be.
You're not a faithful Ashilpe. You don't have anthropophagy.
No, but human cannibalism does have physical effects on humans.
Long term, yes.
No.
Yeah, let's keep an eye out for signs of Kuru. But Paul is saying, other than that, if you just wouldn't mind keeping me updated on how it makes you feel in any different ways, I'd be very much appreciated.
You want to know beforehand before you eat yours, don't you?
Oh, I'm not going to eat this. This is going
Thank
to the labyrinth to be analyzed, and I'll be sure to share what we find out.
If I start feeling weird, I will let you know.
Good. Very much obliged. Nina, I actually wanted to ask you, do you have any union members that you know of that have strong ties to local fire departments? If one of these slashers is going around on fire all the time, maybe
somebody probably called the fire department at some point.
Something probably
a good guess. I don't know. I will send off a message.
Paul sort of shrugs and says, "I don't know. I thought maybe some of the recent fire calls or suspected arsons might line up with some of the spots where it seems like some of the supernaturals have gone missing."
No, legit. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of hope that Psycho Boy and Psycho Hose Beast in there find out some information and try and go handle it first, because the quicker those groups die, the better.
Paul smiles and says, "You notice I got phone numbers. Like I said with the werewolves, the more people we can put between us and the vampires, the better."
Oh no, you got phone numbers, which means that we can potentially, depending on how good I'm feeling at that particular moment, based on some weird, strange, like mystical chance mechanic, I might be able to track those phones.
Even better. Paul pulls out his phone and we'll text you the numbers too.
Cool.
Other than that, and like I said, I might like to drop this before it starts to go off at the labyrinth. But other than that, anything else we should take care of while we're out and about?
Not at the moment. I mean, they gave us some good info. Not enough. But you know what? I made it out of there without punching either of them. So
absolutely,
that's a plus.
Or without drinking any more of that fairy sparkle water. So that's, cheers all around.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the fairy sparkle water the first time?
Well, he dosed himself on that drink.
Oh yes, right.
That was also at Senti's, right?
Yes, that was at Senti's. Yes.
Lena was very glamored, right? Or a little bit glamored, at least.
Astrid was the one who got the worst end of it. Nina
Yeah.
wasn't too.
Oh, that's right.
Everybody assumes
Yeah, it
it's
was
Nina
Astrid.
because Nina's the one who's actually being friends with.
I like to think that glamored is when you get so hammered you end up looking like David Bowie.
You wake
mean-
up. You wake up the next morning. Oh God.
You wake up next morning with like a star painted on your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Rhinestone pajamas.
I mean, that's
Isn't
just
that
one
the
of
plot,
many
plot
loves.
of those comedy Vegas movies that I haven't seen?
The Hangover.
Man, we
No.
got Ziggy Stardusted last night.
Yeah. That's my new goal. I want to get so drunk I wake up as Ziggy Stardust.
I
Very
would
easily
rather-
accomplished.
I would rather get so drunk I wake up as Aladdin sing. You know, to each their own.
I'm gonna get. I don't want to get so drunk that I wake up as Black Star though.
Oh, you son of a bitch! Fuck you! For the
On
record,
the
for
other
those
side of
not
town.
understanding this joke, Black Star is the one that was released right when he died.
It was right before. It was the last album he released.
Like a day before, literally like a day before he died.
It was a really good. It is a really good album though.
It's a great album, but too soon.
I feel like
wanna-
he would have appreciated that joke.
He probably would have. You don't want to get drunk enough that you wake up as the Goblin King?
I already am the Goblin King. I don't need to get drunk for that.
Anyways, yes.
So-
other-
You headed back, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
You want to drop that hot dog off at the labyrinth?
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to turn the show into the labyrinth show, but I do have.
You make a quick stop at the labyrinth. We don't have to go through the steps for that one in particular, especially because they won't have an answer for you yet.
I would like to have them take a look at the dog, though. Who's with me?
They wouldn't be able to do that without holding on to the dog for a bit.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Eh,
I'm-
the
They
dog's
go to
also
look at the
smart
dog.
enough to leave.
They go to
Yeah.
look at the dog. The dog looks at them. They burst into flames. The dog looks at you and then gets back into the car.
If you stare too long into the dog
At
stares
if you
back.
do not get the familiar thing that 5e gives you, where you can cast your spells through your familiar. It's tragic.
Stare too long into the dog stares back.
Yeah, I don't think, especially after last week, where Paul is trying very hard to be on good, non-suspicious behavior. Paul's not gonna roll back in like, oh no, lost your dog.
Well, so it is still important for me to know, does Paul take Crowley to the labyrinth?
I mean, if Paul is aware that he would have to leave Crowley for a while, he takes Crowley with him to the door because he's not going to leave Crowley in the lift.
That would be tricky. Yeah.
We'll take Crowley to the door, and we'll use, I don't know, the Aegis Kaidoru equivalent of like the night drop box to be like, here's a sausage. It's probably people. Have a lovely day.
We need to retroactively change the title of this episode to "Here's Your Sausage." It's probably people.
And he does.
That
like
would be spoilers, Jeremy.
He does like the Leo DiCaprio like happy walk back to the cab.
Oh God.
So no, he doesn't take Crowley into the
I
lab.
think you're doing this. I like to think that the labyrinth is like in the middle of like of Peachtree Mall, like Peachtree Corners. So it's like you just walk down to Peachtree Corners, drop a thing, and walk. Here's your sausage. It's probably people, and a homeless guy next to you just goes, "Oh, I had that yesterday."
I
Peachtree
kinda
Corners
wish
is
you
weird,
had left-
folks.
I kind of wish you had
Mhm.
left Crowley behind in the lift though, and then you get back and he's like the lift driver is just speaking backwards and he doesn't understand why. He knows he's
I
doing
have a
it.
decent amount of containing on the demon that I have brought into this game.
The taxi driver's just like, "What's wrong with your Oh, dude.
I mean that no joke. That is why he would not have left him in the lift, just because he's certainly aware that Crowley is off and is not distrustful of Crowley, but also sort of wants to.
But distrustful of Crowley.
Yeah, well, is not 100% sure what Crowley's going to get up to.
Right.
I mean, also, I kind of feel like, as somebody who's had dogs throughout his entire life, like, it doesn't have to be a demon dog. If it's a dog that you don't know super well, like, maybe don't leave it with strangers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like real world don't do this.
Yeah, like, yeah.
There is absolutely real world common sense that could happen.
I think a lot of Paul's actions have less to do with the fact that it's possibly a demon dog and just the fact that it's a big dog. And he doesn't want to have to, I mean, even if nothing else horrific happens, he doesn't want to have to pay the extra deposit if it craps in the lift.
Anyways.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're at the house.
Crowley's poop starts eating through the floor of the lift.
Oh my god.
I'm kidding. So while they're on the way back, what is the group of you doing?
Probably also getting back from buying a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You right, because you guys went out to acquire safe house dots.
We went out and bought a safe house. And over the
Yep.
course of the next few days, we'll turn it into the actual safe house.
Which probably went something like, do you guys want to have a place that we can go if Nina's place is no longer available that's like not a church?
Which that does bring up the question then, how did you guys allocate your dots? Because I don't remember, or you didn't establish. I don't know.
We have 1 dot in security, one dot in traps, 1 dot in
No,
cash.
we have 3 dots in security.
3
because
dots
I
in security.
bought the dots in
Yeah.
security.
3 dots in security and 2 dots in size.
Jack, did you buy any?
Yeah, Jack put the dot in cash and dot in traps.
Right.
So one in traps, 1 in cash, 3 in security, 2 in size.
Yep.
Okay.
And we figured it's like we bought like a disused gas station / mechanics shop.
Yeah.
And then we'll just.
Drew
build a
was
bunker
uncomfortable
underneath
with the gas station idea, but eventually fine.
So yeah, you guys have purchased an abandoned gas station. It wasn't that difficult. It had been sitting for a long time. The price had slowly been decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are probably just arriving back from that. Just because it would have been an amount of paperwork that you would have had to go through just to make sure that there was no paperwork. As weird as that sounds.
And we electrified the floor that leads to the trapdoor that leads to underground.
And probably you guys are probably arriving at the same time, which is right when Sean, one of your burners goes off. It's just a text, and it has a location, which is one of the dead drops.
Brother, if you wouldn't mind, brother and Drew, if you wouldn't mind explaining to the others, I've got to pick up a package. I'm going to turn around, get the van.
Looking to Eamon. If he doesn't come back, you know where to go look for him, right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oh. Before we get there, by the way, I do want, and probably before we leave, I do want to really quick. So there is something that we're gonna have to. When we all get back together, that we're gonna one piece of information we got, and I don't know how we should approach it.
What's that?
The obvious one of your group has a connection to the slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my Astrid, I didn't want to tip anything off in case they were fishing, but Am I incorrect in my assumption that that sounds like it applies to you?
I mean, I got into this because Archer got me into it, so maybe.
No, blood connection, family, Lucifuge.
Huh. I think
I feel like that was more. I mean, that could legitimately be an asterisk, but
no, I mean, but I mean that is legitimately Paul's reaction, because I think he rolled early on about Lucifuge and doesn't know a hell of a lot about him.
I mean, the
Yeah.
gift was left at your place, so
yeah. Well, I mean, that's because we were staying there, I assume, but maybe not. Yeah, if Paul looks like clueless about this.
No, I mean he's considering it more now,
Yeah.
but he had definitely been thinking
But
about
like,
it much later.
if he seems like he doesn't get the connection, I mean.
Yeah. I mean he's not somebody who feels like he needs to be the smartest in the room, because because you don't learn anything that way. So he's thinking about it, and he says, "Is it? So it's less of a mystical connection for the Lucifuge, and it is actual bloodlines."
Yeah, they're yeah.
Huh. Because
They're Lucifer's kitties.
Okay. I mean, and Astrid, I mean, Asher was your brother, but there's no sort of familial line, right?
not to my knowledge.
The Mulcahy's are siblings as well. I mean, that they have just as much quote unquote hereditary link as you do. And
that wasn't a really good clue, because it could theoretically apply to several people.
Yeah, but the way that it was said was very much the reason that they are a hunter is because of a hereditary link.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul says that's a good point. I hadn't even considered that. Well,
I don't really know how to handle this because, well, no, I know how I would handle it, which is I would go up in there and say, "Hey, Drew, do you know anybody in your family that might be a serial killer?" But
shockingly enough, still more tactful than thrown shotguns. He says it with a smile.
Jesus, that was hours ago.
I know. How dare I go on about it?
Almost a full half a day ago.
Paul is legitimately chuckling a little bit.
No, I know.
And says, all right. But to be fair, Drew doesn't strike me as the sort of person who really relishes subtlety and indirectness. Maybe that might be the way to go.
No, and it might well be. I mean,
meanwhile, the dog is right.
It's probably at this point that the other group, you're arriving at the same location right as Sean says, if you could explain the situation, and has to go drive off.
So,
oh god,
asked a question because I was trying to just look this up and I can't. When I'm not in direct control or directly looking through his eyes, how much language comprehension does Crowley have towards the people around him? I assume that he's smarter than your average dog.
Yeah, I mean, he's a demon in the shape of a dog, so
yeah, but are we talking like...
I just like the idea.
Not that any of them know this, but do I get filled in psychically on the conversation?
I just like the idea that Drew comes into the middle of the conversation where they had ended it, as if Drew had been there the whole time.
No, I don't do that kind of stuff.
Did I assign him dread powers, or did you assign him dread powers?
We said, oh yeah, he needs dread powers. I said, I don't know how to do that, and I don't
Okay,
think
yeah.
forgot it.
So
Beyond the like stuff that all familiars get.
yeah.
He's a demon in dog form, but are we talking like succubus, incubus, or lemure? Because that's
I would say I'll look up dread powers while we're going, but I would say yes, it would probably be able to inform you through an empathic link of.
Oh yeah,
what
I automatically have a psychic link to him.
Yeah, it is intelligent enough to communicate with you
and to understand the conversation, or no?
You remember? You've played a little bit of Devil May Cry 5.
No, but I can do this anyway.
It's the crow.
So yes,
it can speak to you and understand conversation.
The easier way to answer that, William, would have been yes.
For the record, the crow does the actual bird does not speak English. Eric simply sees through its eyes. It's like a camera. It's not like a Anyway.
I was talking Devil May Cry. I was talking about V's crow.
That crow, got it. I thought you had moved on from that.
No, there's a crow in Devil May Cry.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm aware of it. I'm just not super aware of the stuff. Yeah, because I can psychically order him around. Okay.
Yeah, and
I don't do anything about it except for
it can probably speak on its own. It just doesn't care to.
Yeah, no, that's not in the rules. Or that's not in the I'm going to let him right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so aside from if they're like in their car outside gesturing with a handful of Sonic at them, nothing, not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely approach it that way. Everything I do seems to piss Drew off, so I'm holding back on my instincts right now.
Paul shrugs and says, I don't think I've got much real estate up for losing there, so I may as well broach the subject.
Go for it.
All right. And then I guess we head inside.
Yep.
Yep. So, as you guys meet up, what is the conversation that begins?
Hey guys, how's it? How? I don't remember what you were doing. What you said you were doing, but how did it go?
We didn't decide until after you left. We went out, grabbed food, gesturing to a bag of takeout. Apparently Sonic.
Sonic is good.
Sean is off, still dealing with apparently, I assume, professional stuff or professional stuff that'll help us. We went off and bought a emergency extra safe house. Just in case. Here works, but just in case it doesn't.
You just spontaneously went out and bought a house?
Isn't that how? Well, no, it's a gas station, but yeah, like you go out.
That's worse. I mean, it's not worse. It's not like this is a terrible decision. I'm saying that's a more extreme version of you went out and bought a house.
I was careful. There shouldn't be any paper trail. Like, someone could probably track our car there. There's no map, but what?
Oh, you privileged little pudding. Just, adorable.
I don't get it.
Most people can't just say, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm going to go buy a house with what I have. I'll just go down into the vault and chip off what I need.
I mean, most people can't say, oh, I need to go find a vampire. Let's go find a vampire and stake it and leave it in my. Yeah, we do things that normal people don't do all the time.
I don't
Left a
feel like
vampire in your bathroom for 3 days. How is that
don't
like
feel like
any different?
a relatable analogy.
Our lives are weird. I
Being a
don't.
hunter doesn't make you rich. It does give you the ability to find vampires. Never mind. Paul has something he'd like to discuss with you.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of Sonics,
Jesus
actually,
Christ. That's you. What?
we went and spoke to a couple of psychopaths about another couple of psychopaths. It turns out Ashwood Abbey and Nina has walked away at this point, so it's just is Astrid still standing nearby?
Yeah, she's
still
there.
within earshot.
Okay.
Astrid is going through the Sonic bag right now, trying to get the taste of whoever she ate.
All right.
Colleen's like halfway through a chili dog, just kind of.
Oh yeah, Paul's like, what was the sausage guy? Schulpe? Is that it?
William, do I recognize which one that is?
Roll me intelligence and occult. If you get at least 3 successes, you'll recognize something about it.
I bet Eamon might recognize it if Jack is awake enough to make a roll.
You eat some food, Jack?
Nah, I'm just hanging out.
It looks like you're falling asleep.
But I'll make the roll.
Yes, you know something about the faithful of Shulpe with an exceptional success.
Yay. My dots are finally doing what they're supposed to do in the least relevant circumstance.
Nope.
Paul says, yeah, so there was...
William, what do I know?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me really quickly make sure that I have the correct information that I'm going to give to you. So the faithful of Shulpe follow a very strange and odd doctrine, even to the Lucifuge. They are unique among monster hunters, in that there's no other way to describe it than they are religious cannibals. It is part of their faith that through the act of consumption of other beings, especially those of supernatural bent, they become closer to divinity. And literally, in the case of the faithful, they had developed the ability to consume the supernatural abilities of those who have them by consuming their flesh. They can develop the powers of a vampire without needing to be a vampire by eating a vampire. It's strange, and you don't know a lot of how it works or a lot about their faith. But the Lucifuge consider them crazy, and that's saying a lot for Lucifuge.
Yep. Congratulations, you found the one group worse than my own.
I mean, yeah, we found Ashwood Abbey, but also...
Yeah. Shulpe. Anyway, yeah, they seem... they seem notably off kilter. On the plus side, they also seem very keen to have a go at the Colonel. So if that opportunity presents itself, we might have werewolves and psychopaths to throw at them before we need to get our own hands dirty. But of more interest, they also said that our admirers are supposedly a Sonic slasher, and someone known as the Torch. Rumors are it might be someone from a Chiron Initiative experiment gone wrong. Point is, it's somebody wandering around on fire. And the other bit of information that we had is it's someone who's attracted to our own group because they have a, and I'm quoting here, hereditary link. And the thought process might be, given your own association, that might be somebody who's focusing in on you, Drew. So we wanted to make sure you had the information and a warning.
Anyone in the Lucifuge gone off the reservation lately?
I actually checked this morning. So the short answer is no. The long answer is it is entirely possible someone went off book. If they did, they'd be dead. And there'd be someone else. It's complicated. But I actually have a very, very solid idea of who might be in the area, Lucifuge wise. There's not that many of us. We keep pretty careful track of each other, unless, dude, I was talking to, no, it's
Anyone of a particularly torch-like nature, or someone who has more affiliation for Sonic things than Colleen over here?
I don't know if I can roll like my status dots of Lucifuge or anything.
Like,
William.
What you could roll me as actually wits and intelligence for a
I
recall
like the
check.
idea that the Sonics sound all around on skates, like the servers at a Sonic.
Yeah, that was my thing.
I was gonna say like
Works at a
Lucio, but
Sonic.
okay, yeah, that works too.
You have a flashback to your dream from last night,
Right.
which involved your direct predecessor having an encounter with someone who managed to create a shockwave with just the swing of their razor.
I mean, you said that there's two of them and one isn't fire, but instead, like, potentially Sonic in nature.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that is definitely a power that I know that has been in contact with us, Lucifuge, before. Not a Lucifuge power, but in that nature of a slasher. So it's possible this person linked onto a different Lucifuge, but they wouldn't still be alive, so that's...
When you say they wouldn't still be alive,
I'm saying
what
that
if they're really good?
the one I know got into a direct confrontation with someone who either wouldn't have left there alive, which I know he did, or wouldn't have survived. Like, I know they got into conflict, and I don't see that ending any way other than one of them being dead. I guess he could have run away.
Which
Neither
one was it that had
know
the Sonic powers? Was that the Lucifuge or the Slasher?
I mean, Lucifuge don't have that power. It was a slasher, specifically with, and I'll reiterate the specific effect.
Yes,
Sword.
according to the relation that Drew gives to you, the slasher in particular was a woman who wielded a straight razor, like Sweeney Todd style straight razor, and with a swing of it was able to create a shockwave that could carry across a street.
So could the Lucifuge be this torch then?
No,
Oh.
no. The Lucifuge did not die then, but is definitely now dead, and that's another thing I know for sure.
All right.
So
And besides, he's not.
the information
He's
we
not one of
got
the people we're
was-
looking for, even if he
Yeah.
is alive.
The information we got from Ashwood did definitely suggest that it was a slasher that was the woman, right?
Yes, the Sonic Slasher, as far as was a woman, according to their information.
So either it's a different woman with this exact same power, or
Right.
it's the same one who previously had conflict with the Lucifuge.
Yeah, just not
Okay.
sure how that actually
It's
ties
pretty
in.
unlikely, but not impossible. That could be how she got interested in our group. Yeah.
Um,
I'd be surprised, but no one's perfect. But yeah,
No.
the fire guy again could be someone who took an interest in slashers potentially. It wouldn't be surprising for a slasher to want to think that they're one of us, or especially if they develop similar powers. But no, it's not that guy. All I know is he had a run-in with the lady I described.
Right.
yeah.
So
Well, I guess that's
I mean,
plausible.
running. So at least I'm running now off the idea that this woman, the Sonic Slasher, is somebody who has run up against the Lucifuge at least at some point.
Yeah.
And apparently that's why they're interested in us. And the torch was something about having supernatural. Well, obviously, they set themselves on fire. So, yes, they have supernatural powers of some sort.
Right. Well, technically, anyone can do that once. But,
yeah, no, they keep doing it.
Right. Drew, just remind me. You have this information exactly. How does it come to you?
None of your business. It can give you accurate information, but it's not endangering any of you.
Didn't suggest it was endangering
But
anyone.
if you need to know, I literally called a guy who is also in the area, not immediate area, like 3 states over.
Sure.
A state. Tennessee's the next state over.
Okay. I know my East Coast geography. I failed that test. I mean,
Right, I don't think a lot of people who don't live in that area would know that Tennessee was the next state over.
I talked to the nearest guy next state over, and he told me what he knew. That's why I knew to tell you that about the person incoming who'd been in Tennessee whenever that was.
Sure.
Right.
It's just you described it. Well, I guess your source had a very visually descriptive style.
A lady with a Sweeney Todd knife made an explosion of force energy. I don't feel like that's an unreasonable thing to find out. What's your point?
And the deceased Lucifuge had reported it back.
I told you. I know he survived that encounter. I also know
Right.
that same person died between then and now.
Right. And for instance, the Aegis, we keep records. Just wondering if that's how your group operates as well. You seem very convinced of this knowledge.
It is as reputable as you consider it. We're a pretty close-knit group, and you're going to stop prying now.
Paul holds up his hand and says, "Fine." And we'll turn and head over to the Sonic and sit down next to Colleen and say, "So, how's it been going?"
I mean, I have food. Things have been going all right for now.
My eyes are literally smoking, and I'm trying so hard not to put a fiery hole through Nina's house.
Nina appreciates that. That said, I mean, when you say literally, you mean literally, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
so
I just wanna
Drew's
make
eyes
sure
are never
because I
very
want to point
clear,
out my
but right now there is actual smoke coming off of them.
Okay.
I mean, technically it is still figurative because this is a character in a fictional setting doing a fictional thing. That's why I hate linguistic determinism.
Also, because language evolves, literally means figuratively now.
That too, but I wasn't going to go that far. I was trying to clarify for Jeremy's benefit what the character is doing, and then make it.
Absolutely.
There is a trail of smoke trailing off of the corners of Drew's eyes right now.
So Drew's hand gets grabbed and gets dragged off towards the bedroom.
Okay. A dog that was previously sitting on my lap is now sitting on Eamon's. Because you can't really drag the weight of both a person and a dog.
No,
So
no. Walk in, shut the door. You good?
Yeah. What?
I'm just saying that, I know I took the batteries out of all my fire alarms, but
it takes a lot of
doing
concentration
out of your
to
eyes what
actually
normally
use
comes
the
out of my
abilities
lungs.
I have. It's just a side effect.
Okay.
I'm not actually going to fry Paul for being an asshole.
Okay.
Besides, it would be a light burn.
I mean, still.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Okay. All right. Go. And then I open the door and walk out.
I'm not there.
I'll probably stay in that room, just pull out a hand.
You just faintly hear the voice in your head of Crowley just, I could eat him.
Not with that mouth, unfortunately.
I could make a good effort.
I need you in that body, okay? You stinking.
As you wish, Master. Shall I relate to you the information that I gathered?
Yeah.
He proceeds to fill you in on everything that he saw and heard.
I don't know what's worse. That Paul thought that was being direct, or that, and this is psychic, so no snooping. Paul thought that was being direct, or they all assumed that the best person to try and connect with me was Paul. Whatever.
I mean, we didn't. To be fair, we did not assume that. We just threw that out there, and well, one of us keeps pissing you off. The other person, one of us doesn't really do that, and that left Paul.
And
Yeah,
Astrid was in the room.
yeah, but the conversation that you heard was actually totally the opposite of the fact that Paul was the best person to connect with you. It was that you're already pissed off at Paul, so it's not going to make your relationship with anybody else any worse
Yeah.
if he was the one to ask you.
But yeah, beyond that, just sort of sitting in Nina's room, staring at a hand mirror. Shit, I miss you a lot. Well, when you see this, know that you're going to be awesome.
So, what are the rest of you doing?
So what's the plan from here, folks?
Paul has just been sitting and chilling and eating with Colleen and with Eamon, I guess, who's still in the room.
I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Astrid's there too, eating.
Get to you in just a second. All right. Well, while you guys are figuring that out, consider what you're going to do. Any conversations that might be relevant. While I move over to Sean, as you arrive at the dead drop, and make sure that no one's around and that you have the right key and combination to open and acquire what's inside. You find an envelope.
Is it marked at all?
No, completely unmarked.
I will. Making sure that my back is to any sort of external view. Using, I'm assuming, a locker basically to sort of block, like opening it in the locker basically. I'm just going to knife and use the knife to flip up the lid, to flip up the flap of it.
Yeah, so you pull the knife out, open it, and slides open, and you pull out a single sheet of paper, which has written on it the names and last known locations of a series of operatives that have either failed to check in or are currently listed as MIA or KIA.
Okay.
And the locations that are nearest and the names relegated to them, along with the dates. You have the names that stand out to you. Ewan Johnson was apparently listed as MIA about a week ago, and near the airport. And then an individual by the name of Jonah, no last name given, MIA KIA assumed several years ago. About KIA several years ago in a gas station fire that was relatively near. And Jonas Orion, MIA a few days ago. Last known location, the park that the industrial park that you had a fight with some werewolves at.
How many people are on this list aside from those three?
About a dozen, but the other 9, most of them are either the next couple states over, or nowhere near this region, or were just in a completely probably non-essential time frame, or
How do you spell
EWAN Johnson.
Yeah, okay. Taking a picture of it with my phone, of the information with my phone.
Mm.
I'm going to put the piece of paper back in the envelope, roll the envelope up, and I'm going to probably go into and light it on fire in a basket in the back of the van where I can make sure that it burns all the way down before.
Okay. Yep.
And so do I know or have I ever had any contact with anyone named?
Probably not, all things considered. But if you do a little bit more digging, which you will be able to do on your own,
yeah,
you'll probably be able to find out that Ewan Johnson was, as far as you can tell, a very up close and personal style of hitman. He was known as an infiltration expert, able to get into anywhere, break through most security systems, and specialized in either quiet and lethal up close and personal assassination or poisoning.
And I'll basically, I'm going to look up any and all information I can find out about these through my, without going back to the other.
Yeah. The second name was mostly a lone operative, and most hitmen are, but this one in particular had a literal no one that they would work with. Had a habit of covering up a lot of their operations with fires, which is ironic that they were KIA in a fire, as far as records go. And then the third was a known gunman and the man that you had been working with for a while. So take of that what you will.
Yeah, I just want to see if I can find any more independent information about Jonas. Like aside from what I know, I want to verify any other.
Jonas was Jonas, as far as you can tell, is a known gunman. His a lot of his reputation was built on the fact that no one seemed to be able to trace him, because most of the time they would try and trace ammunition, shell casings, anything like that. But none of the ammunition they ever find, anyone's able ever to trace back. They always assume he probably makes his own ammo.
I know he does.
And no one's ever able to find his vehicle or any records of his vehicle. So they know that he has a vehicle and he has a gun that he uses, but no one is ever able to find any trace of them that can be followed back to him. And that's probably where he gets most of his reputation, is that he is somehow an untraceable man.
Okay.
And his record is not the quietest, but also completely spotless. He has yet to fail a contract.
Yeah.
I feel like the real question is, does Sean give a damn about his reputation?
No, I don't.
Okay.
The Joan Jet.
Jonas Jet? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to go check out the gas station where Jonah apparently died.
Yep. So yeah, the gas station listed is not the one that you've purchased as a hideout.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
Aw.
Damn it!
Good.
Says you.
Yes. Says I don't like hiding out in gas stations that have previously burnt down.
But north side of Atlanta, fairly rundown area. Hasn't really been. It's abandoned at this point. It looks like someone attempted to rebuild it, and then it never got back up to where it was. Apparently, the fire had hurt the reputation enough, and no one wanted to buy it or set back up with it. And it's kind of overgrown at this point, barring a single patch, sort of a circular patch of ground that just has no grass left where it used to be.
Is there a church nearby?
No.
Is there a church that would be in the area? I'm assuming yes on that one.
Yeah, there's a local area church, yes.
Yeah, I would like to go there.
Okay. What are you looking for there?
Whatever denomination, or the pastor.
Yeah, it's Protestant, so it'd be a pastor.
Yeah, whoever I'm looking for the pastor.
Yeah. It's an elderly gentleman, graying of hair, dark complexion. Can I help you?
Pardon me, Pastor. Father Sean Mulcahy, Our Lady of Lords down south. I'm dealing with a troubled soul who seems to have some lingering regrets, and I was hoping you might be able to provide me with a bit of...
Of course, anything that I can provide, I'll be happy to help.
It seems some years ago, a gas station. Wondering if you knew anything about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's a terrible incident. Supposedly the only one man died in the fire. Apparently he had collapsed sometime around the location, or at the very least that is the assumption of the police, because his body did not seem to have moved from the inception of the fire. But he was found nearby, body burnt to a crisp, and strangely he was the only individual on site when the gas station burnt down. The staff had all disappeared for one reason or another.
Or that there weren't more casualties. Did the investigators ever determine what caused it?
As far as they can tell, a stray spark lit one of the tanks, and the fire just spread from there.
Oh, freak accident.
As far as anyone was able to tell, it didn't look like intentional arson. As far as, and if it was, it'd be relatively low impact, all things considered. A low rent gas station in the middle of, off the side of the highway, not a particularly valuable location, and no casualties but the one man. And it wouldn't seem likely that the arsonist would want to burn himself.
Is there any reason why it's still down? Why nobody's picked it back up?
Well, situations left a bit of a bad taste in most people's mouths, and ill fortune sort of fallen on everyone who's tried to rebuild it, and eventually people just stopped trying.
Tragedy. Would you happen to know who is the current owner of the land?
No one at the moment. I believe it currently belongs to the city.
Thank you for your information. Hopefully this will help me reach this. Good luck to your pastor.
And you as well, Father.
I want to head back.
Lord smile upon you.
And also with you. Just saying the entirely wrong thing. Head back to the... like it's out of habit. I want to head back to the gas station. I want to see if I can say a prayer and see any ghosts. I'm going to use True Sight of St. Abel and see if I can't find any lingering souls that might have been trapped here by whatever happened.
God knows your lingering souls.
Sure. Roll me True Sight of St. Abel.
Three successes. I'm gonna pray for a little. 3 successes is all I'm gonna.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me your perception with your 3 dots. Yeah, resolve and composure plus your
Just
dots.
Resolve plus number of successes.
Oh, yeah, resolve plus 3.
One success.
You are seeing things. So, as soon as you feel that true essence of the true sight of St. Abel brace into your mind, you look around, your eyes immediately focus on that single patch of dead ground that has not been overgrown by anything. And as your eyes focus on it, you see slowly forming on that single circular location, the satanic pentagram begins to etch itself on the ground before your eyes on that one location.
Can I tell what's causing it?
Seems to be just a lingering mark of demonic energy that has been left here, that is slowly just taken the form of the pentagram almost as a matter of course, as if the energy left just sort of slowly and naturally air quotes, formed this sigil.
I would like to see if I can exercise it with the Vade Retro Satana.
Alright.
It says, serves as the Malleus Maleficarum in the same way Abjuration Exorcism action, World of Darkness rulebook, page 213, 214.
Yeah.
Reference other book.
See, that's my problem with New World of Darkness. It's in an entirely different book. At least it gives you the page number. Also, isn't that just Latin for I hate Satan or something?
Vade Retro Satana? I believe. I don't.
I'm bad at Latin, so probably not.
I missed what the first two words were.
Vade Retro Satana means go back, Satan.
Or get thee behind me?
No,
Basically,
go back, Satan. It's like you go back to where you're from.
Well, I know literally, but I mean, isn't that where we get thee behind me, Satan?
basically, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was just confused. I think I misremembered what a word meant.
I like that better. Just like, hey, Satan, up yours.
All right, so
That's
go
why
ahead.
I was confused.
My dice pool is Resolve, Composure, Benediction. I don't know what it's opposing, but I know that's what I rolled.
I know what it's opposing. Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead and roll that.
Can I spend a willpower on this?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to spend a willpower on this.
Spend that willpower.
6 successes.
Nice.
Nope.
Yeah. So as you recite the Vade Retro Satana, which if you would like to recite for me,
Hang on, I have to pull it up.
it's on page 163.
I have to wait for Foxit PDF to open the PDF. What page was that on?
163.
Crux sancta sit mihi lux, non draco sit mihi dux, Vade Retro Satana nunquam suade mihi vana sut, mala que libas ipse venanan bibas. Over and over again for 5 minutes.
As you recite that continuously for 5 minutes, just sort of pacing a circle around this mark on the earth.
Hanging my rosary over it.
The mark slowly cracks and begins to sizzle, and at the end of the 5 minutes, it fades, leaving behind an acrid smoke that rises from the earth and dissipates.
Still looking around now. Do I get a sense of anything changing?
There was a lingering sense of dread that had been pervading the area that seems to be fading. You're hard pressed to say what that will mean in the long term, but this place just kind of felt a little more wrong before and feels less so now.
And do I have any idea what could have caused that particular portion of the ground to be cursed?
Something of particularly demonic power had something significant happen on that spot. Whether it was the site of a ritual or significant amount of demonic blood was bathed on that location, or something happened right there specifically.
Something bad happened.
In relation to demonic energies.
Bad shit went down.
I can do here. Time to get this information back to the others now, and I'm going to get back in the van and drive back to the apartment.
So, did any of you guys have any conversations that need to happen before Sean returned?
Yeah, I was.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just gonna joke. Yes, we need to have many conversations based on the way that this group interacts. However, they're not going to happen based on the characters in this group.
So first question is, would I know this? Second question is, if I don't know, I'm calling. Where did we decide I'm based? The one that looks like every fancy thing ever. The basilica. The fancy basilica that's in everything ever.
The home base?
Yes, our home base
is in I had the city. Milan.
In Milan. So if I don't know, I'll just call whoever I'm supposed to check in with in Milan. But so do I know, this isn't likely to matter because slashers are living normal humans. Do I know if it's possible for Lucifuge to leave ghosts or become vampires or become, zombies, whatever? And if so, if that typically counts as death for the purposes of their reincarnation.
You do know that the Lucifuge can become monsters. They are susceptible to that because as much as they are the descendants of Satan, they are not literal demons themselves.
We are basically human.
Yeah, you are essentially human with some bonuses. You're like a sorcerer.
But even less than a sorcerer.
Yeah, like a draconic bloodline sorcerer is not a dragon.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you need to clarify when you switch fucking systems.
Sorry, not a mage.
There are sorcerers in the world of darkness too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't alter reality when they do their magic.
Yeah, but
they cheat, little motherfuckers.
I don't know what that is.
You are like a D&D sorcerer.
There we go.
Fair enough.
In that there is a blood. There is a bloodline that grants you power, but it does not alter your nature of being.
And second part of that.
Yeah. As for the second part, you're fairly certain that they still qualify as dead if they become something undead, like a ghost or a vampire.
Okay, cool.
Usually speaking, you would typically say that they don't usually leave ghosts, but that's hard to say because...
Most things don't typically leave ghosts. It's hard with such a small sample size.
Yeah, there's only ever 666 of you at a time. It's really hard to determine whether or not the rarity of them being ghosts is because of what they are or because there's only ever 666 of you.
The great thing about being Lucifuge is you don't have to worry about your rogue agents. There are people that do that, and they are terrifying.
Yeah, there are other things to handle that.
Yeah.
So that's what you know in that regard. Anyone have anything else before Sean returns?
Nope.
I think Paul's just generally waiting for Sean to get back so we can all talk together.
All right.
How can I delay John showing up? I'm kidding.
All right. So Sean returns.
I wait at the door, see if I can hear anything happening.
They're probably just having idle conversation and/or eating food. So.
Yeah.
Then I open the door as loudly as I can, proclaiming,
BAM!
"The kingdom has arrived! All ye heathens!"
I shoot at the door.
There is definitely a moment of sword out at the door, except for I didn't take the cane off, so it's just a cane.
It's just a cane pointed at the door.
No, I shoot at the door.
Fair enough.
Any hunter dumb enough to slam their way into another hunter's house.
Look, we
Deserves
have had
whatever
a lot
bullet
of
they
things
take.
attack us in this
Oh, yeah.
particular location.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Roll me dexterity and firearms.
Yep. What's your defense?
What's my defense? Hang on. My defense is 2.
I mean, it's a firearms attack. Is it close range enough the defense even matters?
If your stairs go down into the warehouse, so to have a decent enough shot, probably.
So the 2 bad. So -2. I shot you
I have armor.
in the shoulder.
It goes into the armor, but you
Yeah.
still
Counts,
shot.
counts into defense.
Yeah, it well, specifically
Still
what
take the damage.
yeah, specifically what the bulletproof vest does, it turns it from lethal into bludgeoning, into bashing.
I
Yep.
thought armor. Wait, does armor go into defense? Are you sure?
Armor goes into it's
Oh.
New World of Darkness, so
Yes.
you add
that-
armor.
In that
into
case,
defense.
my defense would have been 5. Because
you
I
Are
sure?
have
you walking
because
around in
my
like
ranged
medieval armor?
my bulletproof okay, so I've got a defense of 2 and armor of 2, 3.
Yeah, because bulletproof vest is 2-3.
So you're at a -5 for a firearm
But
shot. To hit.
regardless, not worrying about that right now.
Rolling it.
You take 1 point of bashing damage because it's a bulletproof vest.
Well, that was very unfriendly of you.
Wait, so a bulletproof vest gives you ridiculous and reduces it to bashing?
Yeah, bulletproof vest reduce lethal damage from bullets specifically to bashing damage unless you have armor piercing rounds.
Wow, the New World of Darkness is broke as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Or unless you're taking an aimed shot for an area that isn't covered by the bulletproof vest. But yeah.
No, I get shot in the
Paul
back.
has pitched forward out of his chair and kicked it into like a.
And yes, I do always wear my bulletproof vest because I'm an assassin and I hunt vampires.
Not viable.
So yeah, stumble back. That wasn't very fucking friendly, now was it?
Don't slam your way into somebody's house. Next time I'm aiming at head level.
You can hear Paul's voice say, "For God's sakes, we have doorbells."
Do you?
Look,
I mean, we have actually, technically, no, I don't have a door. Second floor of a warehouse. But you know what we do have? We have phones.
Hey,
and you could knock, and
could
you could
knock.
enter without slamming the door. The point is that we have been attacked in various ways at this location a few times.
yes, and if anything that's going to attack us is going to attack us by slamming the door and loudly proclaiming their presence, then they're not really that big of a threat, because everything that's attacked us so far has attacked us secretly in the night. Weren't expecting ours. Regardless.
Point of order. There was a giant goddamn beast engine of destruction that chased some of us down a sewer. So
Yeah, we walked into that fight.
I mean, that's the point. If something
So,
is
did you find anything out?
door open, it's not worried about our shit.
Regardless.
Paul is sheepishly putting the chair back up.
Regardless, I did find some information. But first, since I assume you all shared your own information that you acquired from your little meeting with the Ashwood Abbey, would you care to fill me in first?
Yeah.
Right,
Alright,
we
so
found
we've
out,
got-
and
So we've got one lady that likes to use sonic attack, may or may not be using a razor blade. We've got another person referred to as a man on fire.
Yep.
I've got it so far.
right,
Well, I might know where your man on fire started. So,
good.
we've got a couple of operators in the area that have gone missing recently. Recently. One of them many years ago. First one went missing about a week ago. Operator under the name of Ewan Johnson was an infiltration expert and good at poisoning people. Don't know if that name rings a bell for anyone. We missing near the airport about a week ago. Second person named Jonah, assumed killed in action at a gas station fire. Went and checked out the gas station while I was out. Some sort of demonic influence happened there, left behind a demonic scar on land. Assuming that our man on fire is someone who is literally on fire, demonic fire burning down a gas station seems like one hell of a convincing origin story. Only one person died. Apparently, their body was found burnt to ash. The investigators seemed to think that it was a natural fire caused by a equipment malfunction. I seem to think otherwise, considering the demonic scar left behind and the fact that everyone but the one person who died seemed to have been absent at the moment. Fire.
And was that this Jonah, the one that died?
Yeah, Jonah, the name that I found. Assumed dead.
Right.
He was a lone operator, also a bit of a firebug, so if he wasn't the one that died, perhaps he's our man on fire. And then thirdly, the last person in the local area that's gone missing is Jonas, whom we already knew about. Though, fun fact, one of the reasons that I looked up, one of the reasons why he's so operative, because he's really hard to trace, considering that he makes his own, one of those sweet tattoos you've got there, I say pointing at Astrid, and apparently he has a car that no one knows if he's got it or not.
Astrid, you know that's a motorcycle, not a car, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a car that no one knows if what?
It's a bike. It's not a car.
That's a bike. Whatever. He's got a mode of transportation that no one can find.
Your information's off.
It?
Yeah, there was more than one casualty in that fire. It's just nothing that mundanes would have counted.
How do you know about this fire?
Well, don't ask that. That's apparently off topic.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Whatever petty bullshit you people have been up to, put it aside. How do you know about information about the fire?
That person was a Lucifuge and a hunter, Jonas. That's where the firebug comes from. Presumably, same castigation. Magic superpower. He burned down that gas station with several vampires inside, so there wouldn't have been vampire bodies. But
when one of your folks died, When one of your folks died, do they leave a demonic scar in the earth where they died?
I mean, William, do I know that?
It's not something you've had to research, but it definitely seems like a possibility just by the demonic energies that you channel.
We're children of hell. Jonas was definitely a veteran. Powerful, experienced, pretty high ranking from what I know.
Him and a bunch of vampires in the gas station. Else that you know of?
I know that he was hunting vampires. I know there were vampires in the station, and I know he blew it up with himself inside of it.
Where was the mark at, William? Inside or outside?
Near the inside, yeah.
Near the inside? Okay. Oh, that would seem to match. If his death left a scar where he died, then that would certainly match where I exercised the demonic energy. However, it's still possibly that's the creation of our little man on fire.
That seems unlikely. Slashers are mortals.
Possibly. But all that demonic energy would have had an effect on something. And it maintained there for a long time. People have tried to rebuild the gas station, but haven't been able to because it's been cursed.
So
it's entirely possible that something happened to affect someone else.
I should say, we should just to make sure everybody knows the bounds of what we're talking about. We're assuming that this is a capital S slasher and not just somebody who acts like a slasher.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Could be some sort of ghoul or cursed demon or undead monstrosity. I thought that we'd gotten some kind of information that indicated it wasn't a paranatural creature, but instead someone with our kinds of powers or talents. If we're wrong about that, definitely could be this cursed space.
Certainly the indication that, at least that I understood from Ashwood Abbey and our sausage chomping friend, seemed to indicate that they believed that they were simply mortal. But you're absolutely right. They could have been off base, in which case all of our lines of reasoning are wrong.
All I'm saying
Yeah,
is,
and in that case, as much as it sucks, I assume there are changelings that can catch on fire. I assume that there are not vampires, but like other things, other supernatural creatures that could self-immolate.
absolutely.
There are vampires who can catch on fire.
It's pretty quick though.
I want to go. I mean, no, and keep doing.
Self-immolation seems like a poor decision for vampires.
Right.
Old Clan Shamasay.
Look, but
That is not part. Wait.
They
what?
get fire. They get fire resistance. If you the Old Clan Shamasay that take the fire path, that take the fire elemental path, get fire resistance.
Okay, I
Well,
don't
that
think this is
not
relevant.
That I'm fairly sure that very rare, obscure
Oh
bloodline.
no, it's not an Old Clan Shamasay.
No, it's not something that any of you would know about either.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
But Paul says, you know, you're absolutely right. We could absolutely be off base, but I correct me if you think we should be going in a different direction here. But I think, given that it's more likely that it's a human hunter turned slasher, I think we need to continue operating in that direction with these lines of inquiry. And of course, if we find anything that indicates otherwise, then absolutely let's re-examine it in that light.
I think that's fair. I think that unfortunately that means that the Jonas lead is pretty much a dead end unless someone was around the area and got brain cursed. Though again, that's not really a slasher thing.
No, should keep it in mind. I find that if we're dealing with somebody who is preternaturally disposed to fire, a location that was demonically burnt down with fire might be connection. Might be coincidence, but I don't like it.
The mark that you said you found, Sean, is that something that could still have been active after the fact?
Was active.
Somebody
Continued to be active until I dispelled it.
Right. But I mean active in the sort of turning someone into a living torch sort of way.
William, what would I assume that a cursed ground with a demonically cursed ground could do to an
Roll me intelligence and occult. You can.
William, do I know this?
Yeah, you can also roll me intelligence and occult. Both of you can.
Get any bonuses for this being like?
You can add me your dots in castigation. You can add me your dots in
Lost.
benediction.
All right.
Excellent.
And can I make that roll? Because I've got an occult specialization in demons.
Yes, and you can add your specialization and your benedictions.
3 successes because my dice hate me. I had 12 dice.
Yeah, you did.
Hey, there's a.
I also had 12 dice and rolled 1
dramatic
success.
Sure.
Amos,
I had
we're
10
good at
dice and I rolled 5, so you know.
Yeah, Aaron and I had 2 more dice than you and rolled less successes.
So Eamon has literally just been sitting there eating, half asleep, pretty much all day.
So what Sean knows is that demonic energy lingering around has an adverse effect on the environment, period, end of sentence. It doesn't always act consistently. It's not a formulaic thing. It's difficult to say what it might do. Drew, what you know with 3 successes, you know that the aftermath of a Lucifuge's death is a difficult thing to catalog. It's almost always unique, as is the individual Lucifuge. But a residue left behind often will remain until dispersed in some manner. Oftentimes they would be used to sort of as an unofficial grave marker, mostly because while it probably should be dealt with, no one really cares to in most cases, because all it does is sort of render an area usually more spooky than normal. Eamon, what you know, aside from the fact that lingering demonic essence does tend to have a spooky effect primarily. It tends to render an area more disturbing, more unnatural seeming, tends to make people feel a little bit off, but otherwise doesn't usually do anything major on its own. What it does do, however, is render the site particularly susceptible to further demonic activity, whether that be rituals, incursions, anything like that. it makes it more of a staging ground, more useful for that kind of activity once there's already a demonic taint.
The main issue and that sort of thing is that you got to keep an eye out and make sure it doesn't turn into a completely ineffective sort of demon flypaper. You know, throws them all in, but they don't actually stay stuck there. What?
Which again would take us away from the conclusion it's potentially a hunter to something else.
Well,
Oh, doesn't seem terribly likely that way.
slashers are mortals that gain access to supernatural powers, right? Sometimes. Is it too far a stretch to think that a mortal that gets possessed by a demon might be mistaken for that? Or might be that?
I mean, demonic possession's its own thing, but yeah, if we wanted to go that route, definitely a possibility.
Man on fire that's setting himself on fire and doesn't die from it sounds demonic to me.
With that in mind, is there anything that we should lay in anticipation of
I'd like to go.
a fan club showing up?
You said you found a bit of ground that was burnt, right? Burnt rubber or something? When you were looking around after the fact?
Directly outside of our.
Right outside?
Yeah.
Take me to it.
You were there for that.
I wasn't. Because this was Paul looking after while we were disposing of the bodies. I don't think I ever took a look at it.
Yeah, it was sort of Paul has told you guys about it, but I don't think any of you have gone to bother and inspect looking at it directly.
Could you take me to it, Paul?
Yeah, sure.
I might be able to help with this.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're walking down, though, Paul says, so with this being a possibility, is there anything we ought to lay in anticipation of our fan club showing up unwanted?
Well, we could. I could theoretically set up some. I'm sure I could cook up something that'll bother anybody who's demonically tainted or possessed, but that would also potentially bother Drew, and I'd rather just.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I feel like it doesn't really give us that much more of a tool than a guy who sets himself on fire. Demons are a pretty broad category. Vampires are demons, werewolves are demons. But like even strictly demonic demons, the more hell-oriented ones.
Right. But I mean within that subset, yeah, if we're facing off against a werewolf, we'd lay in some silver. If we're facing off against a vampire, the Mulcahy's I know have all sorts of firecrackers on the end of sticks and so forth. Is there anything specific, if it's something that's demon tainted, that would work in that same vein?
I'll have to ask my brother on that one. He's the specialist on demons.
William?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess things like holy water. Anything that's a remnant of actual faith.
I mean, if you want me to bless some water, I can do that. But let's have a look at this. Oh.
True faith.
I don't think you can no.
True faith is the principle that allows some magic to be effective on the values of its faith. No offense to the priest in the room, but it doesn't really matter what religion it is. It matters that it's true faith, usually. William, do I know anything about specifically vampiric stuff?
Well, specifically like in regards to demons. Yeah. Demons are a little bit trickier than most monsters. There's not like one catch-all solution, although stuff like holy water, stuff like true faith does often help. You do know that each demon has its own set of strengths and weaknesses. The most common one is a true name. Knowing a demon's true name gives you a certain amount of power over it. And most demons also have a ban, such as like a specific weakness that will allow a hunter to exploit about it, if you can figure that out. Demons might be blocked from possessing anyone wearing a particular item of clothing, or they can't stand a specific sound or action. They have a specific compulsion when something approaches them. That's something you have to figure out with research and exploration on specific demons. And that particularly powerful demons also have certain flaws that can't be hidden, effects they have on the environment that give them away if one's paying enough attention.
Okay. Not unless you know specifically what demon it might have been, and the fact and it being a demon at all is still conjecture at this point. Maybe a fire extinguisher might hurt someone who's literally on fire as their form of attack, but not without knowing some specifics of the demon, of a specific demon.
Sure. Well, I'm a big fan of being prepared is all. And I guess by this point we're at the site. So Paul will point out where he saw the signs of burn.
With my special eyes, do I see anything extra?
Go ahead.
What's your priest eyes see?
Roll me wits and investigation.
Can I also take a look, given I'm sort of inclined towards this stuff?
I'm actually gonna
go ahead. Roll me wits and investigation. You will take your visual penalty for this.
Does my Vision of St. Luke still work, or do I need to reapply?
It would have been a different scene at this point.
Okay.
One success.
I'm going to pray for the true sight of St. Abel real quick before I start looking around.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to give all of that to me. So first, solve +5. Wow. 0 successes.
The true sight is not helping you at this point.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll me with investigation.
I have 1 success.
Yeah.
And can I spend willpower on that?
Sure, if you want to.
2 successes.
All right. So between the two of you, as you look around, there's a couple of boot prints which seem to have partially melted to the floor. And as you look around and try and follow them, there's a point where they stop, like they don't just sort of trail forever, which implies that he might not have been constantly on fire, or that he takes a while for his boots to burn or something like that. But you also do notice that at least one of the boot prints is on the side of the wall of the next building over.
Like he walked up
or down it, yeah. The boot print is facing down, so.
Definitely super not. Unfortunately, benedictions aren't working properly right now. Eyes aren't. But I'll probably look at it again.
Wall walking. Again, there's a lot of possibilities if we throw out the assumption that they're both slashers. But otherwise, slashers have weird abilities that we don't know that are random.
Yes. Trying to narrow things down rather than just assuming that we can't possibly know it, I find is probably more helpful.
Yeah.
Brother.
Hi.
Have any ideas? Anything in your lexicon of monstrous knowledge that might point you in a direction?
I think it's fucking fairies.
But
we
asked the fairies, but
look, what we've got here is apparently 2 individuals who are running around. One of them sound-based, one of them fire-based. So I think our best option is to get in touch with Nina's folks, anybody who's got coverage of the area, because somebody like that's going to stick out like a sore fucking thumb for anybody who's looking around. So what we need to do is stop trying to find it ourselves and bring an exponentially larger number of eyes onto the hunt. Throw the net as wide as we can. So who's got contacts in the area then?
Nina.
Turn and look at Nina.
You're up, love.
Although, something else I want to check as well, as we discussed previously, looking at Paul, we have phone numbers for those psychos. Not the psycho slashers, the other psychos, the ones we went to talk to today.
Right.
Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the line between those two is razor goddamn thin.
Oh, I'm right on board with you.
The cannibals?
Yes. I mean the cannibals and sport fuckers and trophy killers.
Right.
So on and so forth. So they seemed really intrigued with the idea of finding them themselves. So now that we have their phone numbers, I'm fairly sure I can set up something to ping, setting up something that's gonna ping their phones, and we'll be able to track them. They also seem to know a lot. Well, I say they seem to know a lot more than they were saying. They outwardly, in exactly those words, pretty much stated, "We know plenty of information, but we're not going to tell you all of it."
You think they're the types to go out themselves, not out underneath?
Yeah, I actually do. Because they're going to want to go out themselves because they don't want to risk anybody else getting the chance to have that fun. Frankly, I'm still not convinced they're not working with them.
Do you think also that your union folks keep an eye out?
I've been trying to. I'll put a post up on. This is another. Luckily, this is another thing that I do through my computer. So, but yeah, I will see what I can find out from that.
As to Paul's concerns, I would agree with Drew. Fire extinguishers.
Fair enough. Nina, how's your sprinkler system?
Well, yeah, funny story about that. You see, there was this point where I had several people over, and one thing led to another. What I'm saying is, if those fire extinguishers go off, it's going to be at least about 20% hard alcohol, which is not going to help. You can't just get it out of the system. You have to let it run constantly.
Honestly, not the most concerning thing I thought you were going to say.
No, but probably not great if someone self-immolates and then tries to kill us with it.
The good news is, like I told Drew earlier, I long ago unplugged all of my fire alarms. So
there's a bit of a question I've got, which
also,
is
I love that my information gets policed, and then it turns out that you just post on a forum, and that's apparently super integral.
Very well.
I don't have a problem with it, but
no, I don't have any problems with your information. A forum, that said, is an incredibly secure forum that moves location, that moves IPs and so on and so forth, and B, is democratized. There's no one person in charge of that, which prevents it from being corrupted.
Paul turns to Drew and says, probably a stupid question, but this new gas station that you bought, how is it equipped for sprinklers?
Okay, he's dealt with that part.
We're going to have some fire.
Probably poorly. It's been out in disrepair for a long time.
It's also not got any gas in it. We're going to have some fire extinguishers.
Eamon, I'm sorry. I think you were saying
ideally, something. That's the place we go just last resort. It's not really set up to hold people long term. It's more of
Yeah.
No, I'm more
Nothing else
asking
is
in
an
terms of, oh, where should we go when the person on fire is chasing us?
probably not the
Fire
abandoned
station.
gas station.
Should probably keep an extinguisher on one of us.
Yeah.
We'll handle that. Anyways, so that's a firebug.
I think Eamon was going to say something.
Right? Oh, mostly just if you've got somebody on fire and they let themselves on fire, do they stay on fire after you cut their head off?
No doubt.
I'm sorry. Those were words that actually just came out of your mouth.
Right. If a man lights himself on fire and he's able to keep it going, does he stay on fire after you cut his head off? Because I'd
Yes.
really like for how long? Because if it's
Depends on
indefinite,
if his clothes ignite.
all
I
I'm
was-
saying is,
I
if it's
wasn't saying-
indefinite, I want to put down right now that I've got first dibs on flaming head in a jar.
I'm not saying
Probably
yes,
not going to work that way, but okay.
I'm
But
not
just in
saying
case,
yes in terms of agreement of yes, that is the answer. I was saying yes. Those are the words that I said. Wow, you just said that too, because it's rare, but seems to be increasingly common with this fucking group. You've managed to top the weirdest thing I've heard this year.
It's also not bad as a koan.
what's the weirdest thing you've heard this year before today?
I mean, before today, it was, I guess, heard, experienced, whatever. Before this moment, it was a moment that happened earlier today. That is not my moment to tell. And then before that,
Did one of you eat a human?
I think
that
so.
seems a very specific thing.
That's like
Well, considering who you were talking to earlier.
You did just mention you went to talk to cannibals.
That's true. Fair enough. Because I was like, I mean,
we did eat some.
I can say with absolute 100% certainty that I did not eat a human being today.
I know that you only say you.
I can't.
You'll also note that I
Oh.
specifically said human being, not person.
I'm gonna have to go
Only-
set up a confessional later.
Only cannibalism if they're still a human, and they weren't, so clearly.
I go find a large shipping container. Get a can of spray paint that we still have. Spray confessional on the side. And start building a confessional inside it. Because all of you fuckers need to talk to Jesus more.
I don't mean to ruin your hopes, but
Literal hell spawn.
I'll put on costume demon horns if it makes you feel better.
We don't get along. I don't get along with.
I'm talking to Nina.
I'm just saying, I know that Jesus is everybody's boyfriend or whatever, but we broke up a long time ago, and there's a Taylor Swift song about that.
So yeah, that's why I don't think that the true faith thing is going to be super useful in this context.
Guys, you hear Colleen say,
Yes.
should we be worried about that?
I look at whatever Colleen has seen this time because probably
I
yeah.
turn to look at whatever it is.
I just say yes and turn and I pull my gun back out.
As you look at where she's pointing, a few blocks down, to the point where there's enough buildings in the way that you can't actually see the source of it. there is a pillar of flame rising visibly into the air.
All right, that's a bit too on the nose.
It's like we found our house
I'd be
bomb.
really pissed if he's been staying in a house that's like 3 blocks away this entire time.
Nina, what are your fire extinguishers full of?
No, those are actually full of flame retard. What, do you think I live in a place like this and smoke and don't have some way to
Paul
put
is
out flame?
already looking for a fire
I
extinguisher.
grab my rifle and begin unloading the incendiary rounds out of my shotgun pistol as I walk towards the van. All right, everyone, get in.
This is going to be really embarrassing if it turns out it was just some teenagers setting off fireworks. Colleen, where are you going?
All right, everyone grabs a fire extinguisher and gets in the van, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah, making sure that Colleen is not abandoned or left in the house alone, because we don't know if these people are some of the many, many people who want Colleen.
No, I mean, I think as has been pointed out, I think enough of us are sort of constantly aware of where Colleen is that that's not going to happen.
So
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. Clarify for me exactly what we are seeing.
So several blocks away, to the point that you can't see the ground source of it because there's too many buildings in the way, there is a pillar of flame rising into the air. It's fairly like contained, like you're looking at a fire tornado. Like you're not looking at a wildfire spreading wide. It is a single pillar of flame spiraling into the air.
And it's not just column of smoke, we're talking pillar of fire. Right?
Fire.
Yep.
Does it have a stopping point, or does it just seem to go up as far as
it sort of there is a peak to the flames, but it's above building height.
Oh, for Christ's sake, is Elijah at the prophets of Baal again?
I was gonna say, this seems like a you guys thing. I think you should be talking to whoever's behind this, because
Get a fire
right.
extinguisher and come on.
usually when devotees of the Dark Lord go to talk to people who make pillars of flame, it does not end well.
Fine, the Lord's
What
fucking
if the
chosen
pillars
are
of
back on the
flame are
job.
Changeling or mage base?
All right, what was that, Aaron?
I said to Jared, what if the pillars of flame are changeling or mage based? Or, any of the other things that can conjure fire as previously established.
I mean, I tried to pose that idea, but then we're like, no, we don't want to talk about the possibility of
I said yes! Come
I know,
on!
we were outvoted.
I don't.
Okay, then I guess I'm staying here in the demons that can't talk to demons team.
You are Craig, you are having people freaking out and having unreasonable reactions to things. That's what's going on.
No,
Yeah.
I know Paul. No, Paul is literally sitting in the van holding a fire extinguisher, going, "What?"
You guys pile in with fire extinguishers,
Can we please talk about this while
and the van goes.
Yes.
Um,
I hand Eamon my Thunder 5 and say, could you please load that with regular buckshot?
Which probably means I'm with Nina.
Which he does.
Or Astrid.
Yep.
'Cause
yeah. And so you guys,
The normal crew are in the van, and the normal crew that's on the bikes are on bikes. We're going.
Mm-hmm.
I
So-
knew we're going.
you dash and take just a couple of minutes because, like I said, it's a few blocks down the road. It's mostly just trying not to hit things. And as you pull around, you are immediately greeted as you round the final corner with pandemonium.
The dimension? Damn it.
The event.
Okay.
As
So there are panda monks.
as people, civilians, run screaming in all directions, as this pillar of flame encircles and is slowly burning away the body of what looks to have been a large humanoid wolf, as a werewolf seems to be becoming ash. And standing in front of this burning inferno pillar is what looks to be a human-shaped figure whose body is completely ablaze. You can vaguely see the outlines of faded and destroyed leathers and what was probably at one point a vest. But all facial features, all signs of skin are just completely enveloped in flames as he stands just staring at this pillar of flame and this rapidly disintegrating werewolf as humans run in complete panic.
Found Ghost Rider.
Told you it was Ghost Rider.
Bigger fire extinguisher.
Eamon has officially decided, fuck the Vigil at this point. We didn't cause this, but we're definitely gonna fucking finish it. And he's got the Claymore out, and he's just running at that dude.
I feel like I've swerved the car so that the side of it, the van, so that the side of it is facing.
Yeah, as soon
So
as the
that-
van comes to a halt.
So that
He's
Eamon
not
can run
diving in.
straight out, and then I can use the open window of the passenger side to balance the barrel of my sniper rifle.
So-
My eyes suck. I'm actually seeing this, right?
No, you are seeing this.
So we're not going to roll initiative real quick, but I would like to know what everyone is doing.
Firing.
Okay.
Have you left the driver's seat of the van?
No, I'm in the driver's seat.
Okay.
I am in the driver's seat with the barrel of the sniper rifle laid out so that it's using the window of the passenger door as the rest.
And I should note, this is broad daylight.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
While Eamon is
Broad
running
fucking
towards it with a claymore.
Clearly, we're the subtlest of hunters.
There's already a 12-story pillar of flame and a wolf corpse. I think we're kind of past that by now.
Yeah, I mean, in
No,
comparison,
you're right. We're not
that's
at all
like
subtle.
Society for Creative Anachronism.
To be fair, there is an ash pile that used to be a wolf corpse.
Yes. Okay.
But the pillar of flame from the sky does tend to make subtlety fly out the window.
I don't know what I'm doing because literally the only thing I can do is cast Firebolt, which makes things worse in this context.
How far away are we from the flaming person?
Probably about 40 feet, and he's got his back to you. He's staring at this pillar of flame.
What is Colleen doing?
Staring at him.
Yep, there's my plan. You're probably you might have. My plan is to grab Colleen, shove Colleen towards the person who can only make fire, and say, "You two need to go."
All right, I'm taking Colleen and running then.
That's my plan. That said, I believe Paul also had plans for what he was going to do with Colleen.
No, that meshes because my plan was get Colleen away from flaming person.
Yeah. So okay.
That said, Drew is not driving, correct?
No, that would be
Okay.
the worst idea.
Paul-
But no, I am on
yeah.
the back
Paul says to Colleen, "Can you drive a motorcycle?"
I can try.
All right.
Believe that you can drive a motorcycle. You're literally God.
Right.
Get
on my bike and get the fuck out of here.
Get back to the house. Drew, both of you be safe.
Yeah,
Colleen,
yeah.
And
Colin, whatever help you can right now.
I just checked. Fire extinguishers have a potential range of 40 feet. Paul's gonna hop out of the van and start shooting a fire extinguisher.
Okay. Keep in mind,
Wait,
that's
I'm
the
curious.
maximum range, so you'll get about half a second of that, and then it'll start to go down.
I'm curious.
Paul will grab
Is
one of
that
the other
a
fire
World of
extinguishers.
Darkness thing, or is that just what's on the internet about actual fire extinguishers?
Fire extinguisher basics. FireRescueMagazine.com.
Nice.
I was actually curious because there's apparently a flamethrower in the World of Darkness book. Maybe there's a fire extinguisher.
Well, but because I think literally what Paul has been doing on this drive is Googling fire extinguisher range. So he probably would have found the same website that I did. I'm not saying it's going to be effective. I'm saying Paul has the same information that Craig does and is making the decision to grab 2 fire extinguishers and start trying to shoot one as he gets out of the van.
Fine. It's fine.
All right. So,
Is Astrid doing anything?
Yeah. Astrid's gonna get as close as she can on her bike and fire the fire extinguisher.
Okay. So I'm gonna need. Man, what do I rule trying to attack someone with a fire extinguisher?
Weaponry, dexterity.
It's not a.
Dexterity firearms.
That's the
It's
thing
still
that.
a firearm. No, it's still it's the function is still the same.
Yeah, it's fair. It's still aiming and squeezing.
I would argue it would be similar to. I mean, actually, honestly, I think flamethrowers or shotguns mechanically would probably be about the same rules wise.
Which are firearms.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go ahead and say it's dexterity and firearms from the 2 of you with flamethrowers. A regular gunshot from the sniper. And a sword swing from the claymore. I'm gonna need minus. I'm gonna try and figure out how I need to order this. -7 from the claymore. -4 from the sniper shot. -4 from the flamethrowers.
So only -2 because I have a specialty.
Yeah.
Can we spend a willpower on this?
Yes.
I'll spend my last willpower on this because I exercised a demon and I feel like that falls in line with my virtue.
I'm just walking and shooting it. I'm not going to spend a willpower. I think it makes much more sense for Astrid to do it because she's riding a cool motorcycle while fire extinguishing. You said -4 modifier?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, 1 success.
6 damage.
Did you spend a willpower on that, Eamon? You're muted.
Oh, wait.
I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. That's why it's a -4, not a -7.
I did this wrong.
Yeah, it should be at a -1 because of the grand total.
Well, it was -4 for me, right?
Yeah,
Or-
so you'd be at a
so
-1 grand
-1.
total
Okay.
After the willpower.
That's not okay. 2.
Nice.
I did 6 damage.
So, as the
My armor piercing round, whatever that's worth.
as the group of you just unload on this figure, you see bullets collapse into its shoulders and between its spine, as flamethrowers are gushed toward it as smoke begins to rise from its body.
Fire extinguishers, not flamethrowers.
Sorry, fire extinguishers.
Slight difference in effect there. I feel.
Distinction required.
Yes, fire
Maybe.
extinguishers. Its body kind of spasms for a minute under the combined force of this assault from fire extinguishers and from bullets, as it sort of turns and shifts and turns to face the group of you. As the claymore digs into its chest, it looks down at it for a second and just kind of reaches up and puts a hand on the claymore, which begins to rapidly glow red as it heats up.
Oh, that motherfucker.
It puts a second hand on the claymore and pushes it out and you away. As it looks at the group of you, it takes a step forward and its feet begin to sink into the earth as if it's melting a crevice into the ground. And it takes another step and sinks lower. and a third one, and sinks lower. And after a few more steps, its entire torso is on the ground from the waist. And a few seconds later, it just sinks completely into the ground as it leaves burnt marks and melted pavement in its wake. And ash begins to float into the air from where it was previously standing.
Which way was it walking?
Towards you.
Firing again.
I was gonna say, was there enough time to get a second swing in there at all?
Paul's running away from the van.
It's at this point it is sunk into the ground.
Yeah, Paul is running away from the van.
Like all the way into the ground?
Yeah.
Was there time to get a second shot off before he went all the way down?
You took if you wanted to take a second shot off at it, you did. It
Okay.
didn't
Okay.
continue to sink into the ground. And then the pillar of flame dissipates and disappears, leaving only the pile of ash and the smoldering bones of the werewolf.
I am, for the record, I have, just to be safe, turned off the internet on my phone, and I'm recording this.
Okay.
Someone did say fuck the vigil, I guess.
It's not, the internet is off so that it doesn't randomly get out, but since Nina fully intends on surviving it, this situation, this video is going to get posted to the
Okay,
Union.
I don't need the full justification. I was making a stupid joke.
I was explaining for William.
Yeah, I gotcha. And so there's an awkward silence as not even the screams of the civilians is still around, as everyone seems to have cleared completely. And as you stand there after your first encounter with who could only have been the torch, and you're not certain if that was it dying or it walking away, and you have no real method of knowing at the moment. That is where we'll end for the week.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.